it's so easy right now to get caught up in the, yeah, this is awesome, to go out and do it. But the reality is, you did have low moments.
Still do.
Low moments.
I don't know what my next job is right now.
Yes, you do.
I don't. What? You ain't seen me that. What you got? I'm still waiting. You have to pay this time. I'm kidding. Okay, I guess yes, I am.
So some of those low moments, it doesn't need to be anything that if you don't want to share it, but I mean, like the times when you are positive and you do have this thing, you're like, yes, I feel that I will make it one day, but that's one day. This day, right now, is not so great. I remember sitting in my apartment, in my studio apartment, on Los Feliz, playing old school Nintendo in my underwear. Sitting there, angry, hadn't showered in a couple of days because I was so mad. And you know what I was mad at? I felt that thing, and you know what? It's such a, there's no one to be angry at because you can't be angry at the casting directors or the directors or you say, why am I naked? Why am I playing this? And, just mad. Now I'm making light of it, but I remember that time because that time made me that I had faith, but I really felt that this is not what I signed up for. This isn't what I came out to LA for. Do I suck? Am I horrible? Am I wrong about all this right now? So what were your times?
I think you know, as for actors, we always have with us that feeling, not just actors, anybody in this business. I think you always feel like your last job that you did, that was your last job you're going to do. And somebody's going to, you know, that's it. That was your swan song.
And sometimes you don't think that's your last job, but it is.
That is an infinite worst moment. Oh, goodness. You just know you're going to work again, and you're not. They just added my whole thing out again.
This is a business where you're constantly having to prove yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I never settle. I'm always pushing myself and challenging myself to do more and to be greater and to dig a little deeper, you know. And you're going to have highs and you're going to have lows. I don't care what level of success you reach. I mean, you certainly have to figure out why you're doing what you're doing. I'm not here to judge. Look, if you want to be famous, go about it. Do your thing.
Yeah, that's it.
Behave. Just be clear on what it is, what you want from this industry, and understand what you're asking for.
And the obstacles that are there. And
absolutely.
And don't be surprised when you find certain walls and barriers to fast solutions, you know, that are there.
Yeah, and when you get it fast, it kind of lasts like that. Yeah. So, but I mean, you know, hey, get your money, do you? That's all. But just be clear on what it is you want. And I just remember having my talk with God. I mean, he's probably sick of me. Dear God, it's me again. But I remember when I figured out this rat race out here, I knew what I wanted. I was very clear, and it was the people that I studied, like the Meryl Streeps, which is unfortunate. We don't really have black actresses to go to and say, oh my gosh, she's done this and still working today. And that's who I studied, because usually for black actresses, unfortunately, they hit a peak and then it's whatever happened to them. You understand what I mean? So the people that I studied and how I hope God uses me to change things up a bit is to be one of the pioneers that's lasted and still working. And when I'm long gone and dead, people are still talking about my body of work. And see, when you ask for that, you're asking for longevity. And when you're asking for longevity, it's an uphill battle, because every step you get to, you're always constantly having to prove yourself. And I'm sure some of you guys are sitting out there, what's she talking about? She's been nominated for an Oscar, he's been nominated. It never ends. It never ends, because you get to one level and you still have this. And that's always the card they play. Oh, no, black movies don't sell overseas. Oh, can't do that. That's black. Oh, too many black people in the movie. Change. You can't sit and wallow in the muck and say, oh Lord, they don't like black people. Well, that's nothing new. That is nothing new. I got the memo where, they don't sell overseas. I don't believe you, because you can sell Tide overseas. You can sell Big Macs to people who can't even say Big Mac. You can't sell black movies. And again, another thing too is I want the industry to stop with the labeling the movies. I don't go to the movies, I don't say, hey, Don, go with me to see this white movie. No! Hey, did you see that movie about those Asian folks? Let's go check it out. I don't go to the movie and say, I'm going to go see a big movie. I go because I see the trailer and something sparks in me, and I'm like, oh, I'm interested in that story. Don't go in and say, black movie, because you won't be right. Just say, it's a lovely story about these people. Don't even tell them the race, because you won't get the money.
Amen. What is it you really do when you have a low? What are you doing with the low? Are you wallowing in it?
Yeah, you can't.
Are you finding a way to work your way through it?
You always have to look for solutions, because there will always be problems. Always, such as life, there will always be problems.
I think it's a twofold question that you asked. I mean, you keep going back to the beginnings and wanting us to go back to the beginnings and when we were real low. But we've had sustaining careers, but we still have ebbs and flows. What makes me, what endures me is always remembering from the beginning of me saying I wanted to go on this journey to be a filmmaker, there being very few historical precedents of me doing this job, of having a dream to do what I do. So, actually making it and doing it, getting in the door and everything, that was one thing, and stuff like having everybody tell me, ain't no black people, ain't no white people gonna let any black people make any movies. That's what I heard all the time. I mean, no matter what.
How do they know?
Or even after Spike made it, when I was in film school, and Spike was the only serious black filmmaker working in the industry, saying they're going to let only one Spike Lee out there, right? But what it did for me is it made me like, I'm from LA, it made me poke my chest out. I mean, more like, I'm going to show you, I don't want to curse, but I'm going to show y'all. And I'm going to put it down so hard that, you're going to be on the floor. So, but I still have to have that attitude now as a person that's established, because as Taraji says, and I've had this conversation with cross-culture people that are successful. You're only as good as the last thing that you did.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, oh yeah, you did that, you made $100 million, do it again. You know what I mean? But then it's a trick, because you can't wallow in self-pity and overly doubt yourself and play the hamsters in your brain all the time. You gotta get to a point where you're really zen-like, where if everybody in the world tells you that you're never gonna make it, you feel like, you know what? I feel this light. I feel God is watching over me and my journey. That's the attitude you have to have. And I'm gonna keep going this over and over again. In terms of going and having a collective. If you don't go and take an acting class, you can form your own collectives. I met this young lady in a collective that Bill Duke put together. You know what I mean? And you know, it was between a year of me meeting her and then her working on Baby Boy. So it's like, it works. You know, you can put that together. There was an organization in the late 60s, early 70s called the Negro Ensemble Company in New York City, right? How many people know the Negro Ensemble? So many great people from Adolph Caesar to Sam Jackson to, you know, what's the name, Mary Alice, you know, all these great actors came out of Negro Ensemble Company, you know, Denzel Washington. And what I don't see in this generation is, really, and I'll just keep it since it's mostly black people, there's more black people than I've seen in this room since Obama got elected. But what I don't see amongst this generation that I would want, and you know, is for you guys to galvanize yourself to make your own collectives, artistic collectives, not just as actors, you know, but as writers, you know what I mean? As storytellers. As storytellers. And when you do that, and you bounce ideas off of each other and everything, things happen, you know. And this panel up here is a great example of that, because it's like everyone, you know, I see, you know, sometimes I feel like almost like Kevin Bacon, because it's a junction for me to everyone, you know, on this panel. And it goes all the way back to that creative collective and creating something and then working off of each other, you know?
And no project that I did with anybody that's sitting up here was easy. None of them. Our movie fell apart 2 or 3 times before we got it.
Oh, I almost killed myself.
Yeah. And Robert had to work forever to try to get that done.
You guys don't know, I got blacklisted for 4 years after Rosewood because he knows all the troubles we went through making that movie. At a certain point, the studio was like, "You're making the black people fight back?" Yeah, seriously. Warner Brothers was like, when we went to the movie, they were like, "Oh, you know, now you're not going to be like Spike, are you? You know, like Spike had was really passionate about it. He made a great movie, but you get put in situations where, you know, like at least with that movie, you know, I wanted to make a movie just because people were telling me, the survivors, their relatives, saying, "Hey, you know, we really want you to make this movie," you know, whatever. And I was going to do another movie. It was The Book Makes Me Want to Holler by Nathan McCall. And you know, I went and did the movie, and an old lady came up to me and says, "Honey," she took a big old arm, you know, those arms that like hang and everything. She said, "Honey, either you or Steven Spielberg are going to make this movie, and we don't want him. So you got to do the movie, right?" And we made this, we were in the process of making a movie, but we got so much shit from the studio at certain junctures that come down and like, you know, shut down the productions or whatever. And because the movie was so important to me, and Don remembers, I robbed Peter to pay Paul with my own money to try to put it in. Like, gave him my salary and everything for that movie. I basically...
You paid me first.
Yeah, I know, you owe me $50,000.
I got you.
But he's going to teach me to play poker and pay her. But anyway, I threatened the studio physically. I said, "If you guys get anybody down here, I'm going to bring some Muslims and some Crips and we're going to whoop their ass." And I swear to God, after that, I didn't do anything from Rosewood to Shack for 3.5 years. Because everybody, I was whatever. But, you know, filmmakers do it all the time. They defend their vision. You know what I mean? Like, I felt that, and as I still feel now, that, you know, if you really feel passionate about something, you know, you have to defend it with your heart and soul. You have to just really like, you know, puff your chest out. You know, as many people tell you that you're not gonna be able to realize your vision as an artist, whatever, you have to defend that. You know, and you have to also put yourself in line with other people who feel the way you feel. You know, and as Taraji keeps saying over and over, and other people are saying, if you're into the vanity of this business and what you think of just to be famous, you know, you're in trouble, because this is a business that if you don't come into it right and you don't act right through it, it can steal your soul. It can suck you up, chew you up, and spit you out.